And welcome back, everyone, to Box Office Report today on the 14th of July, 2024. Did not get the box office right. I mean, I got called Despicable Me 4 being number one, but I was surprised. Longlegs really overperformed, I think. Or maybe I just wasn't here keeping track of the tracking very well. Either way, Despicable Me 4 came in, not surprisingly, at number one with another $44.6 million, only dropping 40%. Longlegs debuts at $22.6 million against a $10 million budget. Pretty good start. Inside Out 2 made another $20.7 million, dropping only another 31.6%. Quiet Place Day 1 made another $11.8 million, dropping 42.7%. And Fly Me to the Moon debuts with $10 million for number 5 spot. Now, I had intended to go see Fly Me to the Moon, but I unfortunately... Right now, my dad's car is in the shop, so there's a lot of back and forth. I'm on a different schedule right now, and we're in a bit of a heat wave. I wouldn't say it broke, but it's been more mild today. So by the time I got home on Thursday, and then when I got home on Friday, I'm like, this is not mandatory. This is not my immediate concern to go see this movie. So that's why I didn't go see Fly Me to the Moon. But obviously, I've seen at least half of the films in the top 10. Or top 5, actually, in the top 10, yeah, almost half of them. Despicable Me 4, another $44.6 million. Currently stands, I believe, let's get the, one second here. Let's get the worldwide up here. I have another tab open. As the 5th or 6th highest grossing film of the year so far. The 5th highest grossing film of the year so far with $437.8 million. And look, if it ended its run right there, it would 100% be the lowest grossing of all Despicable Me's. That you couldn't help that, but it would still be immensely profitable. It's only made on $100 million. Even if I highballed the marketing, and I mean highballed it to $100 million, that means the film only had to make $300 million to break even. And so this film's long since now in the profit range, and now it's just gravy. Universal, like I said in the review last week, seriously, Disney, even Warner Brothers, particularly Disney, but Disney, Paramount, these studios that make these giant, ridiculous budget films, thinking they're going to be getting their money back. Again, Haunted Mansion's one of the most prime examples of a film where I do not know where the money went on that for $150 million. It had to have been paychecks. Yeah, there's a lot of visual effects, but you can do a lot with visual effects these days on a lower budget. So Blumhouse does this. They're able to make low-budget films and make their money back, and Illumination has constantly been able to do this. Constantly and consistently. Sometimes they're not making hundreds of millions. Sometimes they're only making tens of millions, but they're making good profit on low-budget films all the time. And this is just another example. Fourth film in the franchise. Starting to get a little stale, if I'm going to be honest. Like I said, I felt this way I did about the Minion movies, all the other movies I've seen. They're fine. They're not amazing. I don't think they've ever been. Personally, I don't think they've ever been amazing. But they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all. And clearly, now that we're in the full swing of the summer movie season, kids are all out of school now. I don't think there's any schools still going. But kids are out of school now. Families are going to theaters to entertain their kids for the day. Someplace cool, just relax. Perfect babysitter type movie. And dropping only 40% tells you there's a lot of repeat business. The kids are like, okay, let's go watch that Minions. Let's go watch Groove. Yay! So clearly, this and Inside Out 2, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they're coming along. They're doing just fine. And yeah, it's good to be these studios right now. Longlegs debuted with $22.6 million. I forgot what the rating was, but I've heard the rating's pretty good on Longlegs, and I've heard the movie's pretty good. I didn't care about Longlegs. It just was not my thing. But on a $10 million budget, and that was the best guess I could find for the budget, $10 million. Apparently, it's actually made under 10. But let's just say 9 then. Let's say 9 on a $9 million budget, and this film did not have a lot of marketing to it. You're lucky to even have, I'd say, 20. You'd be lucky to have 20. So let me highball it at 20 for now. And I could be dead wrong on that. When the end of the year comes, I'll see what the budget was. This won't be in the end of the year box office. Not part of a major studio for me to add it in there. But yeah, 22 million, even if it was 10 million, 22.6 million against a $10 million budget. That is the kind of opening weekend you want with a low budget film like $10 million. Because even if you're opening at like the same amount as the budget, like you make the budget back within the first opening weekend, 10 to 10 million. The problem is that is not a big enough number that when the drops come in, you're going to have a good chance of making your money back. 22.6 million? Now you're looking at a number where you could still make double digits next week. And then you got obviously the weekdays in between each weekend. So now you're looking at numbers that can compensate for the difference. And Longlegs definitely did that. So what attracted people to it? I think Nick Cage being creepy is a big thing. I think people still like horror movies. They just want good ones. So, and there's no international right now. So we'll see what the international adds on there. But yeah, I think there was enough interest in it to be certain. Absolutely. Inside Out 2, everyone. Okay, now do you want to know where all time it stands? $1,315 million at the moment. Where does that put this film in the all-time right now? Because this film is, at this point, now just breaking records. That's all it's doing. It's adding money onto the pot. Yummy, yummy. But it's just breaking records right now. So where does this film stand in the all-time film, in the film's all-time? Well, domestically, let's go to domestic first. It stands as, I believe, the 17th? No, it was a little lower than that. No, 16th. It is the 16th highest grossing domestic film of all time. And again, we're probably, no joke, we are probably closing in on 1 million films in history. It's in the top 16 of all of that. It is in the 1% of 1% of 1%. That's impressive. And based on the numbers it did this week, plus it's still going to have a few good weeks left, I would say domestically, it's going to cross 15. No, it could cross that literally this weekend. It could be the 15th highest grossing domestic film of all time. I would say we're looking at a film that could still, domestically, do I think it maybe has 50 million domestically in it still? Realistically, no, but I'm not gonna say no either. That's the thing. I'm not gonna say no on that. That could have another 50 million domestically. Because you got good counter programming coming up with Twisters and Deadpool coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's still got great legs. Next week, it's still probably going to be in the teens. And it's still making a couple million each day in the weekdays, too. I'll say this. I'll go with 40 million as the max it has left domestically, roughly speaking. Which means my estimate puts it around 614. So it would be the 14th highest grossing film of all time domestically. But, that's just domestically. Worldwide, it can't be that high, can it? That's where I got my 17 from. Inside Out 2 right now is the 17th highest grossing film of all time. The third, technically fourth, but let's keep the Lion King one out of the equation for just a moment. The third highest grossing straight animated film. If we're going to go fourth, let's just say fourth. Fourth highest grossing animated film of all time. It is only 11 million away from beating Super Mario Brothers, which means that's a lock. That's a lock. It'll be the third highest next week. And it's only, no joke, it's about just around 100 million away from beating Frozen 2 to be the second highest grossing animated film of all time. It's 50 million away from the 1.4 billion marker. So the question now becomes, where does this thing end up worldwide? Does it have anything left in the tank worldwide, like internationally, to add on to that? Maybe. Quite possibly still. Like I said, I am assuming right now I'm going with 40 million left domestically. That would mean it would put it just under Age of Ultron. But assuming there's some more internationally, look, I don't think it's hitting 1.5. I think, and if it does, it's going to cap right at 1.5. I don't see 1.5. 100 million away from Frozen 2, roughly? That's not just within the ballpark. That's within swinging distance. If we're still assuming there's some international left to be had, and what I'm saying theoretically is correct. That's got maybe 40 million left, if not more. Then beating Frozen 2 at 1.43 billion dollars, just over 100 million away. That's not just doable. That's within swinging distance. So, do I think it will do it? I'll say this. I'll reserve my final judgment for next week, but right now I'll say yes. It's within swinging it. It's within fighting distance. Absolutely, I think it can do it. But I reserve my judgment for next week to have a final answer on that, because next week I think is going to be the real teller. If it is over 1.4 next week, then I'm going to say yes, 100%. It will beat Frozen 3 or Frozen 2. I say that 100 with no second guessing. But if it's not over 1.4 next week, but if it's, say, like 1.39, 1.385, something like that, I'll say it's not as likely, but it's not impossible. But it's gonna be now just running on the empty. But this is all contingent on what next week's box office looks like. So we'll have to wait and see. But look, it couldn't have happened to a better film. I absolutely adored this movie. It really is a true follow-up sequel. And it's something Pixar freaking needed. Not just the movie theaters needed, and they did need it. Not just something Disney needed, which it needed, but something Pixar needed. Because with freaking Chapek in the pandemic, he just decided to treat Pixar like hey, let's just put it on. It's just kids stuff. Let's just put it on freaking Disney Plus. Like, no. Like Lightyear, I liked the first half of Lightyear, and I liked the movie overall, but Lightyear suffered. I actually didn't see Luca, and I didn't get around to seeing Soul. I did see Turning Red, and I liked Turning Red. I don't think it was the best film of the year material, some people thought, but I liked Turning Red. But the Pixar brand had become damaged at that point. It was just, they were not being respected. The audience was starting to not think very well of them. So when Elemental came out, it was just like, oh, it's just another thing. And Elemental is freaking wonderful. And you know what? People realized, oh, no, this Elemental's really, really good. And I want to see it. I went twice. I took a friend of mine to go see it. And it made nearly $500 million. So now that you have a good movie come out, you're like, okay, all right, Pixar's back. And then they announced Inside Out 2. It was like, oh, no, Inside Out is so good. They better nail the landing. It's like, I was looking forward to it so much. And they didn't just stick to landing. They got A+ on the landing, man. They made a perfect sequel to the original. And it showed, because it vastly overperformed on its opening weekend. And here we are, 17th highest grossing film of all time, 16th highest domestic, 4th highest animated, which is going to quickly become the 3rd highest animated film of all time, and may even become the 2nd highest grossing animated film of all time. So you know what? Inside Out 2, you have earned every little bit of success you're getting. A Quiet Place Day One. Man, I'm so glad you were able to make your money back, because Paramount decided to shoot you in the goddamn foot. Now, apparently there's been some talk that the idea that that Quiet Place Day One being put on digital by the end of the month is maybe being pushed back a little bit, because, hey, look, you've already made $220 million. Why not keep doing that for longer? Yeah, look, the film's made at $67 million. The film made its money back probably before this, but now it's official. It made money. The film's profitable. And again, talking about studios that need help, Paramount has not had a good year so far. In fact, Paramount is very much verging on bankruptcy, and I believe they just got bought by Skydance. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, the people at Paramount have not been handling their shit well. And it goes to show that they see a movie that's successful and think, well, we got to get it on our streaming platform quick. It's like, no, you wait, like everyone else waits, to put it on the streaming platform, and that way you rake in all the money from the theater. And look at Inside Out 2. This is another reason that Inside Out 2 is making so much money, because it actually was given a 100-day release window. It won't be on streaming for about 3 months. And you know what? They made, right now, $1.3+ billion from that. So, well, they didn't make that. They made that, but the profit's still like hundreds upon hundreds of millions. If you had put it on streaming earlier, it may have still made $1 billion, but I guarantee it doesn't make as much as it makes now. And these studios just got to freaking understand it. So many of these people don't understand that. Unfortunately, when the news came out that it was being released on digital early, I think that basically told people some people don't come, or, oh, well, I can wait. So I'm glad, thank God, that it was able to make its money back and make a profit. Now, how high is it going to go? I can't say for certain. It looks like the international is kind of petered out now. There might be a little bit more, but it looks like we've now hit the max the international is going to give us. So, unfortunately, the fact that is it only made it dropped like 50 some odd last week, and it dropped 42 this week, which is good. Even if it does that the next couple of weeks, I mean, you're looking at 7 to 6 million next week, plus, whatever. You're looking at maybe 20 or 30 million max more domestically, which would mean this film ends somewhere around the 250 margin, which isn't bad. It's not as good as it probably could have done, but it's not bad. And again, I think people like this franchise. It was a good movie. It was a different take. We weren't following the Krasinski family anymore, the Blunt family, because he's dead now. Spoilers. But it's spoilers for a film that's been out since 2027. So take that for what it's worth. So yeah, I think its success is, let me put it this way. What I was saying about Furiosa, this is, I think, one of those films that, is the exception to the rule, because it's a different type of film than Furiosa. I think Furiosa's problem wasn't solely just that it was a prequel, although I do think being a prequel didn't help it. And Inside Out 2, A Quiet Place Day 1, is going to probably be the lowest grossing of the franchise while still making money. So that still actually lends to my theory that prequels aren't inherently the best idea to go with. However, Furiosa, I think people just don't care about the Mad Max franchise. I think that's a big thing. And the people who do are too niche of a group to really get a profit from. Whereas the Quiet Place franchise is still a relevant franchise. It's still relatively recent. It's a fun premise. So I think ultimately that's what kind of helped it out. Fly Me to the Moon, a film like I said, I meant to see but didn't, made $10 million this week and $9 million internationally for a $19 million haul worldwide. Unfortunately, much like Horizon American Saga, which I believe that is the name of it. Yeah, Horizon American Saga Chapter 1, this film was made on $100 million. And you cannot make your money back on with $10 million against a $100 million budget. Not even including marketing, which admittedly was not high, so probably like 30 or 40. Oh man, who did this one? Columbia, Sony. Oh yeah, so and Sony had a nice win with Bad Boys too. So, not the best for Sony, but Sony still got some films coming out that could definitely bring back. I mean, they got Venom, Last Dance, which is probably going to be a hit coming out. So, yeah, I can't say I'm really surprised that it only makes $10 million. It didn't look like a film that was going to be like $100 million opening or anything like that. I mean, 15, 20, I could have expected that too. I just don't think people go out in mass to these based on real events type films, no matter how good they may be. I don't think that's really what we're going to the movies for most of the time. Sometimes we want to go there, see the story of a important figure. I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody is a biopic, so that's an example of something that works. Same with Rocket Man. Lincoln obviously was well received, and there are plenty of examples, but right now I don't think that's really where we're at. Besides that, they didn't do much to diversify the marketing on that, which I don't know really how you would. Either way, this film gonna be losing a chunk of money. Though nowhere still near as much as Horizon American Saga, which, by the by, $2.4 million, $29 million, almost 30. It's already made well over half of what Horizon did on just its opening weekend, so it should be at least make more than that. I would guess maybe 30, 40 million. We'll see. Bad Boys, Ride or Die, another $4.4 million for 377.9, so $78 million. And at this, like I've said for a while now, at this point, it's just putting the gravy on the potatoes, just putting the frosting on the cake. Like it's making just money now. That's also, it's just making the money. And good for it. I had a good time. Fun movie. Kind of stupid, but fun. Maxine. Now, apparently Maxine's actually only like $2 million budget. So you factor probably no more than $5 million in marketing, and get a film that made its money back. I don't care about going to see Maxine either, so I did not see that. So yeah, I mean, good for that. Good for Maxine. I don't really have much else to say on that. It didn't do anywhere near as well as, say, like Longlegs did, but honestly, I don't see. Here's the thing. Let me get Pearl up here real quick. Pearl. Let me get Pearl real quick, and then let me get X up here. What did these films actually do? Pearl only went on to make about not even $10 million. Okay, and then X. X gonna give it to you. Gonna give it to you. Okay, there's X. X made 14.7. All three of these happen to have Mia Goth on. By the way, you know it's a pattern with those posters. It's all Mia Goth. I'm gonna be flat out honest right now. Mia Goth, whatever you think of her as an actress, is clearly not a box office draw. And like I said, I don't find much of an appeal with Mia Goth. I'm sure she's a very sweethearted woman in real life, I hope. But that's just me. And I get the impression I'm maybe not alone on that, because the numbers kind of speak to the fact that she doesn't really draw in a crowd. But I don't know. Regardless, Sound of Hope, Story of Possum Trot, 9.7 million. Again, a film that probably isn't going to be making its money back, assuming it was made on anything. Lion King and re-release made $1.76 million, or 1.076, a little over $1 million. Not bad. Kingdom is pretty much done. I believe it's at 395. Yeah, maybe it gets to the 96, but 395. Okay. Again, guys, figure out what the number is. Right now, you're telling me that Garfield's only at 218.8. Was it 240, or is it 218.9? So 219. Which one was it? You fixed the Despicable Me bullshit. You fixed that last week, very shortly after I had finished that video too. But I don't know what's going on with this. I do not know. I will save it for the end of the year to figure out what my final thoughts are. Either way, Garfield still made its money back. Against a $60 million budget, it still made its money back, absolutely. So that's pretty much the box office this week. This coming week, we have, let's see here. We got Oddity, which I have no idea about that, and obviously Twisters. Now, based on the numbers here, and based on what Twisters I'm hearing is tracking for, between 40 and like $50+ million, Twisters is going to be number one. 100% Twisters is number one. Then I would definitely go Despicable Me. It's going to take a nice drop, probably still be in the 20s. I'm going to go Inside Out 2. Again, going to take a nice drop, be in the teens. I'm going to say Longlegs will be number 4. No idea what the drop will look like for that. It could definitely be well above the 50s and maybe even in the 60s, or it could be lower in the 40s. Either way, I think that Inside Out 2 still makes more because it's just a 4-quadrant film. And then A Quiet Place Day 1 rounds out the top 5 with somewhere in between like the $6 and $7 million range. So again, I'm going to go Twisters, I'm going to go Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, Longlegs, and A Quiet Place Day 1. That's my prediction for next week, though. What do you think and why? Let me know. Until then, thanks for watching. See you next time, and have a good one.